Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're talking about Moonology.
Hi, my name is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman. I'm an intuitive psychic medium here in the Sugar Land area. That's just outside of Houston. When I was a little girl, I fell in love with our moon, and ever since, I have been energetically drawn to moon energy. I have studied Moonology for quite a while, plus I enjoy teaching others about the different energies of each moon phase. Then combining that energy with our current moon sign, and you will come away with a great understanding of how both these energies will combine to influence each of us in unusual ways. If you like my content, please subscribe, like, and share.
That's right. Today we're talking about Moonology in a little bit different way, because ever since humans have been walking around the earth, we have understood that in some aspect our moon changes each and every one of us. And it's kind of like this long-held belief that the power of the moon kind of changes each person at its molecular level. I know, really cool. And it's really important to understand how it changes and why it changes us and why it changes us differently from other people. So I'm going to try to explain this so hopefully you get a much deeper insight into all things Moonology. So one of the things is our lunar affects us differently in different ways. And it's one of those, and that's really kind of where the word lunacy came from, is many times when the moon was in, usually its full phase, that people would act kind of crazy or different or kind of like a different from normal kind of thing. Like, wow, these people are really acting strange, and why are they acting strange? And they were always kind of putting it back to the moon, because everything used to be on the moon cycle. Everything, time, energy, what things happened were always about the moon. But as we've progressed over the last couple of centuries, that's kind of not the way it is anymore. And so it's kind of like important to understand why this changes us. Kind of one of the things that is really common in most stories that of lunacy or craziness during the full moon is kind of this neurotic behavior comes forward. And there's many stories that will tell you of like people turn into wolves, and people got crazy, or that people have more babies are born under a full moon than any other time. And it's really trying to understand that aspect. And it's really trying to understand how the moon passes a person from like no energy to it to tons of energy into us. And that's really an important way to kind of really think about it. Our full moon really changes our behavior because it changes our molecular structure, because of its influence on us magnetically, and it also changes us because we've got a magnetic pull between the earth and the moon, and we're kind of in the middle of all of that, and so it does physically change us. Now some moons, because it's different in different signs, has a stronger pull towards one person than another. So one person may be like, oh my gosh, a full moon in the sign of Aries really affects me a lot, but a full moon in the sign of Virgo doesn't affect me at all. And that has a lot to do with where the moon was when you were born, what your moon signs are, all of that information. So we're going to talk about this in generalities. Our moon affects our emotion, because our emotions are really affect the water in our system and in our bodies. And because we're like a whole bunch of water in there, the emotional part kind of seeps into that water, and then the pull of the moon, that magnetic pull, kind of, it was really affecting our cells, and it's really affecting the water in us and pulling it in different directions. And it really depends on what sign it's in, how much it's going to affect you. When the moon is full, it kind of really gives off this energy that greatly affects all of us, yet some of us are more affected by certain moons than others. Every few days, the moon moves into a different sign. So as it's moving around, and it's kind of like almost, the best way to put it is like when it's in this angle, it's in Virgo, and then next to it, it's going to be in Leo, and the next one is going to be in Cancer. And as it moves through those signs, it's going to change its energy and going to change how we react to it. The elements are all about kind of like clears the energy and kind of reboots our energy as we connect to the moon in different phases. And some of them, no matter what, affect us more than others. It can't really change it. It's more understanding which ones affect you more than others. That's the good part about it. Kind of the full moon always allows changes to come in. And a lot of times it's really, a full moon is all about like letting go of things or releasing things. Some of these may be more subtle or kind of like not as bad, and then other ones may be very drastic, huge changes that we're willing to make at that time frame. And it's actually kind of really putting us in kind of like in connection with the other people around us. This could be anybody around us, any of our peers. It could be coworkers, it could be employees, it could be bosses, it could be husband, wife, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister, all of that kind of in-laws, all of that crazy energy, and how we connect to them is going to be differently. Because if you're connecting to, say, your father-in-law, and he's really affected by the moon right now, if y'all don't have a great relationship, this could only cause it to get worse. It may cause it to get better, but sometimes, usually, it seems like it always seems to make it worse. And so that's kind of a great way to do it. So if he's in a phase where he's kind of shut down his emotions, and you're asking to him to connect to his emotions, he's not going to be able to do that, which is going to make him mad, which makes you kind of feel like you're being pushed away. And so that's kind of one of those interesting things. So it's really an interesting part of it is kind of managing our energy. Managing our energy in many different ways will help us kind of understand how it's going to affect emotionally, spiritually, inside, outside. How is it going to change the people around us? And I will say one of the things that's really important to do to understand the moon better is to connect to it. Anytime you want to understand something, you have to connect to it. If you want to understand someone's personality better, you need to connect into them and kind of learn about them so you can understand about their personality. The same thing with the moon. Yet, like I said, every couple of days or so, the moon is moving into a new sign. So it's kind of like, what are the things that are the same no matter where the moon is? It has different phases. And so how the full moon affects you over a course of several months or a year or so will kind of tell you like, okay, a full moon affects me basically this way. A new moon affects me this way. So that makes it easier. And then a full moon in these 2 or 3 signs really, really affect me, where these signs don't affect me near as much. And so it's kind of like that interesting part. You have to really get into it. One of the fun ways to do and connect into the full moon is to dedicate time to meditating during the full moon. The few hours that it's 100%. And I'll say usually it's a good 12 to 15 hours that it's like 100%, or 99 to 99. So it kind of goes through that whole cycle. And kind of go on an inner journey of like how to connect to the moon. What energy do you feel from the moon? And then writing those down and keeping track of it. Like, I connected to a full moon in the sign of Aries and I felt this. I connected to a full moon in the sign of Sagittarius and it felt like this. So that's why I'm kind of breaking it down, kind of like how did each of them feel towards me? And this is something to do over a long, long period of time. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, or even a year or more is going to give you more of an insight into how each of the moons and in what sign it's in really is going to affect you. That's the fun part about this. Sometimes the moon's energy doesn't seem to be nearly as affecting us as it normally does. And so that's even something to kind of keep track of as well. Like, a full moon in this sign doesn't seem to affect me as much as this sign. That's really important to kind of jot all of that down so you can kind of really understand that. One of the things that I keep on my calendar is a moon calendar. So I literally know when the moon is going into each sign, what time it's going into that sign, when is it void of course, kind of between 2 signs, and then going into the next sign. It's really important because, like I said, there are people that are more affected by certain signs than others. And it keeps me on track, but it also keeps my clients on track, because I can ask their angels and guides while we're booking that appointment, are they good with the moon in Sagittarius? And if they say yes, great, I can book that appointment. If their angels and guides go, So let's put this off 3 or 4 days. Let's put it into next week so I get that perfect time frame where that person's in that perfect energy for me to connect to their energy and what's going on. Let's see. Let the full moon like show you clarity of like what are you supposed to get rid of? What emotional baggage or emotional junk that you've been carrying around are you ready to kind of get rid of? And there are months that have 2 full moons in them, and it's really important. It doesn't happen very often, and that's why it's called once in a blue moon, because it doesn't really happen that often. It does just because of, a lunar cycle is on 28 days and our calendar is 30 to 31 days, except for that crazy February guy. He kind of messes everything up. So it's kind of like every once in a while, every so many months, we're going to have a double moon. We're going to have a blue moon in a calendar month, which is 2 full moons in the same calendar month. And that's a really great way to kind of understand how these phases affect us. That's the important part, is to learn how they affect us. And I will say they really affect us in many, many different ways, but it's important to understand what they do, how they do it, and what's coming up next for us. Kind of like if this moon is one that's really going to affect me, maybe that's going to be where I'm going to take as few meetings as possible. I'm going to connect as little as possible with people during that time frame. And that means for me, I'm going to be in meditation. I'm going to be in release mode of letting things go or moving this into a new energy so I can open up to new things. And so let's talk about the full moon energy in each of the signs, and it's really important to kind of give us a deeper understanding. So a full moon in the sign of Aries is all about literally mastering time. Normally in a normal life you may feel like everything is in order, and so you can be really productive during this time frame, yet during an Aries full moon you may feel like your calendar is getting away from you or time is getting away from you. Most of the time in an Aries moon, people are trying to look their best and kind of showing the other people their best side, that I'm capable or responsible asset to society. So you make people kind of step out and donate time, money, or energy to different charities or different organizations. During this time, you may also kind of enjoy some really deep conversations, kind of deep, kind of like I just met this person and I had a really deep conversation with them. And so that's kind of what happens during an Aries moon. It would also be wise to kind of watch your money during an Aries moon, literally from a few days before the full moon to a few days after the full moon. Those are the kind of things to really think about during an Aries full moon. Next, let's talk about full moons in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is all about bringing beauty and kind of looking at beauty in a different way. You may choose to beautify your home or kind of bring in changes, kind of like I've wanted to update this for a while, or I got some new throw pillows for the sofa, or I got something new or different, kind of like bringing in those changes, kind of changing how you feel and how beautiful your space or you feel. It could also be going into, for women, more makeup, kind of fixing your hair, doing your hair differently. It could also be trying a new product. This product should make my hair look better. So it's going to be how you look. I will also say that during a Taurus moon, your creativity is going to be in overdrive. You are just going to feel creative in the kitchen and cooking and baking and creating other things. You may end up doing some craft projects that you normally wouldn't do, but during a full moon in the sign of Taurus, you are going to be like, I have just got to create something. This could also be a great time for looking at your budget, kind of like getting control of your budget and kind of putting your authority over it, kind of like I'm going to squash this kind of spending and I'm going to do this a little bit different. I'm going to tell my money where to go, kind of taking that authority, that Taurus bull energy kind of by the horns, and I'm going to tell my calendar what we're going to do with this. This is a great time to really be careful about your communications with other people. You may have miscommunications, or kind of like, I thought they understood what I said, but they really didn't understand, or I thought we were on the same page, but we're not. This can be with you kind of like something to really overcome, and something to be really aware of kind of like, hey, are we on the same page with this? I think this is what we're supposed to be doing. And that can clear up a lot of miscommunications. But during the Taurus full moon is a great time to be careful of your communication. Let's go into next our full moon in the sign of Gemini. Gemini full moons can bring people very talkative. Gemini energy constantly amazes me. People that normally aren't talkers, during a Gemini anything, they're more talkative. And it's like, wow, that is a really amazing. You may think, oh, I'm going to make a quick phone call to Aunt so-and-so because she never wants to talk. And the one time that she does, you're like, oh my gosh, it's a full moon in Gemini. Yes, they are going to be more chatty, more communications. You're more likely to get responses to your emails during a Gemini moon, more phone calls, people that just want to chat for a few minutes and it ends up being longer than a few minutes. Just something to be aware of. During this time frame, your finances can kind of feel like they're not going anywhere, kind of just stalled out for whatever reason. Geminis love to spend money and they're impulse shoppers. And so that's kind of an energy that you'll take on during the full moon in Gemini, is just like things that you normally wouldn't buy, like that pack of gum just calls my name and I've got to throw it in the basket. Other things, kind of just that impulse of like, I just want everybody to be happy and this is going to make me happy. So kind of bringing in that energy. Let's see. Your finances will change once the full moon is over, kind of go back to what you normally are. Also during this time frame is kind of benefits like writing down your ideas and kind of really thinking about them and talking to others, kind of like doing some investigations and kind of what do you think about this, or how do you think about that? Geminis are all about communication. So any ideas that you have coming forward, talk to other people. I'm thinking about this. I'm not sure if that's a good idea for me or not. And kind of like getting that deeper insight from others. Our next one is our full moons in the sign of Cancer. Cancers can be extremely sensitive, and it's something to know that like during a full moon in Cancer, everybody's going to be this way. Everybody's going to be a little super sensitive, a little emotional, not like overwhelming, like just crying. I just mean more sensitive than normal. You may not ever know like what causes that to happen, kind of thing, but it's kind of an interesting part. People will end up laughing, crying more, kind of talking about things from the past, kind of things that they want to do in the future. I think it's really interesting in a full moon inside of Cancer. You're going to have people really wanting to talk to their family about their needs, their wants, their desires, their requirements, all of that, kind of a little bit more. Full moons can also bring a regeneration of kind of like reactivating some spiritual side in you, and kind of bringing up that, making changes, or I want to do something differently, kind of that spiritual side. Like I want to start meditating. All of a sudden you're like, okay, well, you've never talked about this before. That's the kind of the fun stuff that comes up in a full moon in the sign of Cancer. Next, let's move into full moons in the sign of Leo. Full moons can bring up details for Leos. It's kind of really great about paying attention, and you always think of kind of like that Leo, that lion, is always looking at the micro details of things and kind of taking in things. So kind of keep track of like your thoughts, your actions, paperwork that's going. If people are going to be looking over it, they're probably going to be microscoping it, kind of like, oh my gosh, there's little bitty problems. And it's really a great time to make long-term commitments and long-term goals during a full moon in the sign of Leo. Projects that you've kind of left to the side are kind of may come up again. So kind of like all of a sudden, I haven't thought about this in 2 years and now it's coming up. This is going to be a great time to kind of bring this. It will also really amp up everybody's requirement to kind of network with other people and kind of bringing in maybe a new job possibility or a new change here or just some new information. It's kind of like, wow, this is really interesting. Full moons in Leos will also bring up our requirement to drink tons of water. It's one of those, you think about the lions out in the Serengeti, they may go a few hours without drinking. So it's one of those, we may feel like that need to kind of sip water all the time. I would say kind of your health may come up for Leos as well. And that kind of goes back to that, like I said, that lion on the Serengeti of anything that kind of trips you up now or maybe a little bit of a problem now may be a huge problem in the future. And so anything that could go wrong, it's one of those, people are going to be pushing themselves to go to the doctor, get things looked at, things motivated in the right direction. So they really want to get things cleared up in this area. Next, let's talk about full moons in the sign of Virgo. Virgos bring up moons bring up our desire to travel, kind of, and this could be a physical travel or a spiritual travel. You'll see a lot of people in Virgo moons doing a lot of past life regressions, progressions, astral projection, all of that kind of energy as well. Personal journeys are really important to earth signs, and they're going to do it to places that make them feel grounded or places that they've really desired. Like, I've always wanted to go there. That's where during full moons and Virgo, people are going to want to go into. This kind of phase, our full moon in Virgo, really ignites our expression. We're going to want to express so many things. We may start singing more, writing more, dancing more, even if we shouldn't be dancing. It's one of those, it kind of brings out that kind of like sensual, soft side of us, that Virgo side of people. You may also find that it's an important time to be around your family. So you may see people wanting to travel towards family. Let's get together and go on a family trip. And this would benefit showing other people how much you love and care for them as well. Next, let's go into a full moon in the sign of Libra. How does that affect everybody? Our full moons kind of in Libra really accentuates our requirement for love. Our affectionate side comes out. People are going to be kind of wanting to experience like starting a new relationship, starting something new or different, all in that affectionate side. Full moons also kind of bring up that I want to be free. I want to do something different. And so that could also kind of like, I've been free for a long time and now I want to be in a relationship, or I've been in a relationship for a long time and now I'm ready to be free. That's going to bring some changes to everybody during that Libra sign. This would be great to kind of keep list of pros and cons and different things in your life. Like, does this really help me or does it not help me? Leos really like to know kind of one of those, like, this is the good list and the bad list. Let's think about everything in there. Once the full moon is over, you will have a lot of clarity for questions that you've been asking, and kind of like that Libra moon may be keeping you from those answers. So this is a really great time to kind of jot them down and look at them later on. Let's go into our full moons for the sign of Scorpio. Any full moon in sign of Scorpio is going to bring out our kind of our laughter and our insight of like our personalities, kind of bringing that forward and realizing what we want to do and not wasting time on drama or traumas. It's one of those, you're going to see a lot of people during Scorpio moons kind of like, let's move away from that drama. And kind of wanting people to speak their mind. Like, I really want to know how you feel about this. It's something that you're going to hear a lot during Scorpio moon. There's going to bring up a lot of closeness with families, a lot of shared moments, and this could be creating lasting memories as well. Let's go here because we're going to have some great pictures, or we're going to have some great memories from this trip. So really wanting to bring a lot of that energy in of sharing moments with people and are doing things or setting things up during a full moon in sign of Scorpio. So they may be making those plans, and we're going to make some changes and make some long-term memories. So let's go into a full moon in the sign of Sagittarius. brings up our intellectual side, kind of like our really smart side. Our mind will be craving like really deep conversations and knowledge about things. So you're going to see a lot of people kind of letting their fingers doing the talking on their phones or computers, of looking up knowledge, looking up different aspects, or I learned something new today, or I want to check this out somewhere else. So people are going to be craving that. You're going to see a lot of people craving connections with outside, kind of benefiting from like getting outside in nature. And this could be also setting up like social circles as well, kind of like getting out of the space. Kind of let's get out of home and let's go have dinner with friends. Let's do this all together, and kind of reaping the benefit of the energy. Full moons in Sagittarius kind of really bring us together. So you're going to see that a lot over and over during Sagittarius, kind of like bringing everybody together, or wanting to do everything together. And this really brings out a very compassionate or very caring heart for a lot of people. Next, let's talk about our full moons in Capricorn. Can bring out some agitation or aggravation with a lot of people, because they have kind of a less tolerance, kind of like, I normally will put up with this, but this is not your time. And so you're going to see that a lot of times, intolerance for mistakes or incorrectness. You're going to see a lot of people kind of like this quick turn of emotions, kind of like from sadness into happiness, happiness into sadness, like on the dime. And you're going to realize that people are handling others not as careful as they would. Normally they're like, let's not say this in front of her. And it's like, oh, now let's talk about it. Let's say it all out so we can get this out into the open. Like I said, your nature heart is going to be coming. So taking walks in nature, kind of moving out in that, is really going to be something you're going to be craving. And this could be something that you end up doing like with family or friends. Let's go for a long walk, or let's go walking on this path or something like that. So you're going to see that a lot during a full moon in the sign of Capricorn. Next is our full moon in the sign of Aquarius. This really stimulates our requirement for balance. Kind of like, I've got to be in balance, or my calendar's been out of balance, or my family's been out of balance for a while. And really that sense of, I need to bring balance in, I need to bring in things that will set me on the right path, or I need to find things that will fix or adjust this. And it's not just kind of like a matter of listening to one or two people. They may kind of go around and get everybody's input, or they're going to be changing or modifying things that are going to affect everybody around them. This energy also brings in the expansion energy of just kind of like, what do we want to expand into? Kind of like our mind is going to be activated and ready to kind of like think new thoughts and bring in new ideas, and kind of those futuristic, maybe even kind of like, I want to do this in 5 years, or people start their bucket list of things that they want to do when they retire. So this kind of futuristic ideas coming through. You may also feel people wanting to do kind of like a life review, or kind of like changing their aspect of what they've learned so far in this life. Is going to be really interesting for a lot of people. Our last one is our full moon in the sign of Pisces. And this type of full moon brings in kind of that energy of when one door closes, one door opens, or kind of like, this didn't work for me, but the next thing will. Kind of that really a positive energy outlook, and kind of that opportunity for changes. Like, this didn't work, but the next one's going to work, or there's going to be some changes that are coming in, and kind of really reaping the rewards of kind of like, what have we been working towards and what have we wanted to bring in? This is going to be bringing in a lot of really great changes for us. Some people may be floating on kind of like dreams that are not really emotionally based. There are going to be people really emotionally based in their dreams. Like, I can't wait for this to happen, or I'm excited about this happening, and pulling that energy in even more importantly. We're also going to be kind of craving this clear communication with others. Kind of like, I don't feel like we're on the same page. We need to clear this up. And kind of others who don't really listen are going to be kind of like on crazy list because people are looking for ways to connect, making those communication connections, making connections emotionally with other people during a moon in the sign of Pisces. And let's pull some angel cards. I know this isn't my normal deck, but this is one that just really has been calling on me for the last few days. So I thought, this is the one that needs to come forward. And literally, I've got cards popping out the top. So let's start with these. A couple of them. There's two of them. So the first one is transits. And this is all talking about like the climate, like kind of like if our parents were affected by certain moon signs more than others or more than we are, and we were a little kid around them, we may pick up that climatology from them, kind of like, oh, a full moon in this sign is really going to affect them. Or sometimes it could be that their energy was really affected by the full moon, and so now whenever the full moon comes, we're like, this is scary. And it's something that we picked up from our childhood. This is talking about midhavens, and this is all about the pinnacle of energy, of kind of like the height of the energy. Where do we want to go with this? What is it that we want to change into or transform into in this energy? And that's really important to understand. Kind of what are we willing to change and take care of? North Node. And this is really a sign that our moon is in from time to time. And this is all talking about the future. So if the North Node of the moon is pointed towards something, it's talking about the future of it. Where is it going next? What is it going to move into next? How is it going to move into this next? How are we going to deal with this kind of energy? How are we going to deal with what's going on or what's being affected at this time? That's really important. I feel like I have to shuffle again and kind of get some new cards going. And here we go. A couple of them popping out the top. This one is our first one, and this is Libra, and this is talking about the balance. Once we understand the moon, it's easier to balance our energy. So we kind of know like, okay, this moon is really going to affect me, and so I really need to pull back a little bit more and kind of be in more meditation. If this, another sign of the moon, maybe like a Libra moon doesn't affect us near as much, that can be something that can be really interesting for all of us, is to understand that. Where is that energy? How is it going to affect us? How is it going to make changes? How is it going to move in this energy? Our next one is the South Node. And this is all about when our moon is in the South Node, it's all about our past, kind of bringing up things from the past. And this is kind of an extra level of information that our moon can bring into us, kind of like, what is coming up next? How are we going to do this? Our next one is progressions. And this is all about our journey through our life, progressing through our journey of like, how do we do this? How do we move through all of this? How do we move through this energy easier? How do we move through it harder? What's kind of holding us back? Kind of what is our journey going to be like? And I guarantee you, if you're having a hard journey, you have things you haven't let go of and things that you require releasing to our full moon, and get in that energy as quick as possible. I will tell you that it's most important to understand when it's the time to release and when it's time to hold on to things. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.